I'm Gordon Grant. I'm a research hydrologist with the USDA Forest Service Pacific Northwest Research Station, and also courtesy professor of geosciences at Oregon State University. And it's been my great good fortune over the course of my career to study the McKenzie River. What makes the river unique is the geology. These old and new mountains sitting next to each other give rise to a landscape that comes in two distinct flavors. The older Western Cascades are a landscape that have been around for a long time. They've been chewed on by rivers, by glaciers, by landslides. Streams are everywhere. Water that touches this landscape immediately finds its way into a channel. In contrast, just to the east, the high Cascades are young. They're not dissected. Rivers haven't had a chance to get their teeth into the rock. And as a consequence, their water that falls on this landscape doesn't run off quickly, but actually runs down deep into the rock itself. The two flavors of landscape give rise to two very different kinds of rivers. In the Western Cascades, the rapid runoff of water leads to streams that go up and down over the course of the winter season as storms roll in off the Pacific. Little of that water makes it down into the deeper rock, and so by summertime, streams run almost dry. In contrast, in the high Cascades, the water doesn't run off, but instead finds its way down into the rock itself and reemerges downstream as large springs that source the rivers. Because of this, the flows are very constant over the course of the year, and in particular, the streams run very high, even late into the summer when we haven't seen rain for many months. To see how this works, imagine yourself a raindrop falling on the high Cascades. Instead of running off into a stream, you find yourself following fractures and cracks into the rock itself, and then reemerge as large, cold springs. These springs are remarkable places. They're parts of the landscape where water just gushes out of the side of the hill or seeps out, creating these beautiful blue pools. The water is cold, it's clear, it's drinkable. The value of the water in these springs is almost incalculable. One spring high up in the McKenzie River represents 1% of the total unregulated flow into Portland Harbor, and in many cases these springs aren't even on the map. We've been studying these springs as windows into this vast groundwater system. One of the things we've learned is that the water that's coming out of these springs fell out of the sky in some cases as much as 10 years ago. The age of the water gives us a clue as to how much water is actually stored in the high Cascades. And the answer is, it's an immense volume. The water that's stored in the rock, in fractures, is of the same volume as large continental lakes, like Great Salt Lake, or large reservoirs, like Lake Mead. There are very few places on Earth that store this much water this high up in the landscape. What this all comes down to is that the high Cascades in general, and the McKenzie in particular, represent the real source of the Willamette River. Watch how the river, as it moves from Eugene on the left to Portland on the right, accumulates flow, and see how the McKenzie represents roughly 30% of the flow of the Willamette into Portland Harbor. Why should we care about this? What the landscape is telling us is that the McKenzie will be a major source of water even when other rivers in the West run dry. In Southern California, there are only two ways that water is stored: in snow and in reservoirs, and the snowpack is going away. In the Oregon Cascades, water is stored as snow in reservoirs, but also in this deep groundwater system that isn't going away. The McKenzie will be a major source of water even when the rest of the West runs dry. The value of this river will only increase in the future.